So longtime viewers of my reviews may remember that the last time I covered a Star Wars movie, I wasn't exactly the most kind to it.
The best thing about it is the fact that it's got really good special effects and good action. But as a wise man once said,
special effects are just a tool, means of telling a story. A special effect without a story is a pretty boring thing.
Today we're caught in a weird inverse of sorts, because while that movie was fairly well received from critics and audiences, this movie in particular has been split down the middle by audiences. So now, I'm caught in this position where no matter what verdict I come up with for this particular film, I'm either gonna piss off a lot of people or I'm gonna make a lot of people happy. Isn't it just a fun time to be a Star Wars fan? Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi is written and directed by Rian Johnson and stars Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Carrie Fisher, rest in peace, that guy from Girls, Llewyn Davis, a Tumblr self-insert, and Mark Hamill. After destroying Death Star 2.0, the First Order has the rebellion on the run, playing intergalactic Mad Max Fury Road. From there, it's up to Finn and Rose, played by Kelly Marie Tran, to infiltrate the First Order and slow them down as Rey goes to Acto to understand her place in all this insanity. This isn't going to be an easy film for me to review, because this was one of my most anticipated films of the year, and it wasn't because of the fact that it's a Star Wars movie, but it was because of the fact that it was written and directed by this man, Rian Johnson, who is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. I was going to approach this video almost in the same way that I approached my Thor Ragnarok review and discuss Rian Johnson's other movies, Brick, The Brothers Bloom, and Looper. However, unlike my Thor Ragnarok review, the main criticisms levied at this movie aren't due to the fact that it is seen as an extension of the director's vision, but rather seen as an extension of the vision of the franchise it is a part of. So instead of reviewing this as a Rian Johnson movie, let's try and view this as a Star Wars film and how it compares to the other films in the new era of Star Wars. So with all that said, what did I think of The Last Jedi? Well, speaking personally, I loved this movie. And in fact, I think it's my personal favorite of the Star Wars franchise. Let's start with the look of the film. The film feels like the ultimate bridge between modern blockbusters and classic Star Wars. Not to say that The Force Awakens and Rogue One were poorly shot films per se, far from it. They actually have some pretty decent cinematography, but it doesn't exactly feel like a traditionally shot Star Wars movie. Say what you will about the prequels, but at times it does feel visually consistent, shot-wise, with the original trilogy, which often liked shooting in masters at medium close shots, and were very atmospheric in nature. In The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson and Steve Yedlin opted to let visuals do the talking, and as a result, the film is the most beautiful Star Wars film to date. Almost every single shot has meaning and is perfectly framed. A personal standout being the Battle of Crate and a shot that pays homage to the 1927 film Wings. Even the extreme close-ups, which are a staple of Johnson's filmography. Not only that, but the actors are amazing in this film. Newcomers do a good job to introduce themselves to the audience and leave a good impression, while the returning cast feel more comfortable in their roles this time around. Oscar Isaac and Carrie Fisher share some great chemistry together, and it's a shame we're not going to see that anymore. John Boyega does a good job with his new role in the film as kind of a spy, and his camaraderie with Rose does add a different dynamic in the film that we haven't seen in the series before, almost feeling very Amblin-esque. And Daisy Ridley does a much better commanding presence in her role as Rey this time around. But by far, the MVPs in this film are Adam Driver and Mark Hamill. Somehow they double down on Ben's angst and anger, and it just makes him so compelling to watch. And every scene between him and Rey is just a blast. And Mark Hamill does his career best here from an acting standpoint, giving Luke an arc that feels not only satisfactory for the legend of his character, both on and off screen, but also creates some new conflict for his character that really advances him forward in a way that we didn't see coming. Of course, one of the biggest things about Star Wars is the action. Hell, it practically wrote the book on how to make an action blockbuster. So how was that? In my opinion, I think it is nailed perfectly here. The action is very sparse, at least on foot, but the few moments where the characters have to get their hands dirty, the film brings you down in a way that doesn't feel dissimilar to how fight scenes were shot in the original trilogy, yet feels choreographed almost to the same degree as that of the prequels, almost like controlled chaos, if that makes any sense. The special effects are also at the top of their game, employing a better blend of CGI and practical effects, much better than The Force Awakens and that other movie. Of course, no film is without flaws, and I do think there are a few nitpicks here that I can point out, and I feel fairly comfortable pointing them out, because everybody has. For one thing, Admiral Holdo, played by Diane from Twin Peaks, is very underdeveloped, and I wish we could have seen a little bit more, so that way we could have cared more about her motivations. On top of that, if there's one thing this film doesn't do better than the other films, aside from the Canto Bight theme and nostalgic flourishes in certain scenes, this is probably John Williams' least memorable score in the franchise. Not that it's bad, it's still really good, but with the high bar set by the previous films, it falls flat, unfortunately. And finally, there was a small revelation that the film does with Rose that comes right the hell out of nowhere, as well as a potential missed opportunity with Leia. But even considering all of that, I can look past everything, because the way it all comes together so perfectly, it just constantly leaves me with a huge smile on my face. I can understand the hate that this film does receive, and everyone is in the right considering how they feel about it. But for my money, this is for me what others felt walking out of The Force Awakens back in 2015, with terrific cinematography, damn good acting, and a wonderful open ending that leaves so much room for what can be done for Episode 9. This film is the Star Wars film I've been waiting for. It doesn't try to rely on nostalgia like The Force Awakens, and it doesn't try to be something it's not like Rogue One. Rian Johnson respects the property he's adapting and stays true to the nature of the characters, creating the perfect amalgamation of modern filmmaking tropes and the Star Wars style. I can't believe I'm giving it this, but for my money, it's a 10 out of 10. More than worthy of being a part of the Star Wars mythos. That's my review, guys. I'm Joshua Lozano. If you liked what I do here, please subscribe, like this video, share it if you can, and if you can, please donate to my Patreon. The link is in the description. I'm Joshua Lozano, and I'll see you guys next time.